We have all heard the famous quote from arguably the best investor of all time, Warren Buffett, which says, and I'm sure you already know it, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. However, at a time where fear was at its all-time record highs, we're talking about entire global economies in complete shutdown. The stock market crashes over 35% in March. You have Warren Buffett, the legend himself, whose actions seemed to be fearful when others were fearful. And he ended up selling parts of, and in some cases, entire holdings of a total of 21 stocks in the first quarter. And now we're starting to see hedge fund billionaires like Bill Ackman. He sold all of his Berkshire stakes. And you've got stock analysts, saying Warren Buffett has lost his touch, he's old, it's time for him to retire, value investing is dead. Frankly, I completely disagree with all of these statements. And so for today's video, I want to try and answer the question everyone has been asking. Why is Warren Buffett selling? And for this, we're going to look at the two main reasons why Warren Buffett has previously stated that you should sell a stock. And for this, we're going to have to go all the way back to his 1998 shareholders meeting. And once we know these reasons, we will look at his most recent airline and bank stock statements, and then the actions he took following these statements, and see whether they marry up with his reasons for selling stocks in the first place. And then to finalize, guys, I'll give my final thoughts. With that said, guys, don't forget to smash the like button, as it really helps my channel grow. If you're new here, I want to say welcome. I hope you enjoy the content. And if you do enjoy the content, hit the subscribe button, as it will be really cool having you on board. We're close to the 1K subs mark. Let's do it, guys. And with all that said, let's go. What's going on, guys? My name is Emmanuel and welcome to my channel. And I want to make this clear, guys, before we go any further. I am a huge Warren Buffett follower. I regard him as one of, if not the greatest investor of all time. To be fair, his investing principles has been the foundation of my own investing principles, but his actions recently has not aligned to his own rules. In fact, he's actually been breaking his number one rule, which says never lose money. And not only has he broken his first rule, he's also broken his second rule, which says never to forget about rule number one. Because he lost over 7 billion from his last three major investments. You've got Phil Town, another investor that I completely respect and study closely, advising people on his YouTube channel that you should not be buying stocks right now. You should be sitting in cash, because Warren Buffett is also sitting in cash. And I'm not going to sit here and say I've been sitting in cash. No, I've been investing heavily since March. But I can't help but notice, while I'm busy buying, Warren Buffett is busy selling. And to be honest, guys, it's starting to make me a little bit nervous, okay? So guys, let's take a look at why Warren Buffett is selling.
Alright guys, so let's jump straight into this. So the two main reasons to sell a stock according to Warren Buffett, okay? So the first reason, guys, I'm going to have to refer back to his 1998 shareholders meeting. So straight away, I'm going to take you back to 1998, guys.
And we would sell, if we needed money for other things. The Geico stock that I bought in 1951, I sold in 1952. It was, went on to be worth 100 or more times before the 1976 problems, 100 or more times what I paid. But I didn't have the money to do something else. So you sell if you need money for something else.
Alright guys, so I hope the audio was okay. But to summarize, he said you sell if you need the money for something else, okay? So by something else, I believe he refers to a better valued stock. So if he's got a current company and he's seen another company that's doing much better and has better long-term perspectives and long-term value, then obviously you will sell your current position in one stock and then transfer the funds and use that funds to purchase another stock. And I also think he also means if you spot a wonderful company in an emerging market, so that's a sector that, let's say for example, the tech sector back in the 2000s when it was emerging, and you've seen a good value stock with a great balance sheet, great income statements, great cash flow statements, and you're strapped for cash, it might be worth selling your current position of one stock and then invest in a stock that's a wonderful business in an emerging market. Okay guys, so Example of this dates back to 2015 when Warren Buffett actually trimmed his Goldman Sachs holdings by 13%, and that was pretty much to raise capital for a potential purchase of Precision Cats Parts Corp. Okay, I'm going to take you to that article now. So as you can see, guys, from this article back in 2015, Warren Buffett's interest actually caused the shares to surge 19% in one day, which is crazy. However, guys, I'm not particularly convinced that this is the reason why Warren Buffett has currently been selling stock. And here's why. Look at this, guys. Warren Buffett has been stockpiling cash. He's been sitting on cash and stockpiling cash since 2010. And you know, in 2019, he's sitting on 128 billion in cash. So you can't tell me that Warren Buffett needs to raise capital or he's selling because he needs to make another acquisition. He's got 128 billion in cash. And that was 2019. Look at this recent article, guys. This recent article from the 8th of May 2020 says Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has a record 137 billion cash pile. Okay, so his reasons for selling a stock that you might need to raise capital to make another purchase, you can't say it applies right now, and that's not the reason at all. I've heard some YouTubers and some analysts think that that's the reason, but he has more than enough cash right now to make any acquisition that he pleases. So I do not believe this is the reason why he's selling right now. Alright guys, so with that said, that brings me on to my second reason as to why Warren Buffett suggests you should sell a stock. And we have to go back to the 2002 shareholders meeting where Warren Buffett made a statement. He said, "We sell really when we think we're re-evaluating the economic characteristics of the business. We probably had one view of the long-term competitive advantage of the company at the time we've bought it, and we may have modified that." Okay, so to summarize, guys, I believe with that statement, he says you sell if you see a change in the fundamentals of a company, or maybe a change in its competitive advantage, or maybe if there's been a significant change in the economy, which has a direct impact on that stock. Okay, so it changes the landscape, completely changes your rationale for investing in the first place. That's why I think he said you need to be selling. Alright guys, so now I want to segue into his airline stocks position, okay, and see whether it's applicable to his airline sell-off, okay. So, on March the 13th, 2020, right at the beginning stages of the coronavirus spreading globally, Warren Buffett specifically stated, "I won't be selling airline stocks," okay. And let me take you to that article now. Alright guys, so here we go. March 13th, 2020. Warren Buffett says, "I won't be selling airline stocks," okay. That's what he said to Andy Sewer during that interview. I'd like to draw your attention to this particular paragraph. He says, "Well, it's going to be terrible. I felt a pandemic would happen at some time." And then he rounds it off by saying, "It won't stop the progress of the country or the world." So I think he ended that interview with optimism, you know, concluding that it won't stop the progress of the country or the world. And I think that's a great viewpoint from a seasoned long-term investor, you know, undeterred by the surrounding chaos, the end of the world enthusiasts and all the people going crazy about this pandemic. Warren Buffett stepped forward and said it's not going to stop the progress of the world. For me, anyways, at that time gave me some reassurance, okay? So let's fast forward to April 3rd, 2020. Warren Buffett sells parts, not all, okay? He sells parts of Delta and Southwest Airlines. And let's bring up that article now. As you can see, guys, with this article from CNBC, it says Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway sells parts of Delta and Southwest Airlines. Okay, it says it according to regulatory filings, Berkshire sold nearly 13 million Delta shares for about 314 million and roughly 2.3 million Southwest shares for about 74 million. So I think this is also a key point, guys. It says Berkshire previously owned 11.1% of Delta stock and 10.4% of Southwest Airlines stock, okay? So this is quite an important part. So the general consensus at the time, guys, was that he only trimmed his position to get below 10% ownership stake of these specific stocks. And what that pretty much means, guys, is that once you're below that 10% ownership, you wouldn't have to declare any further actions regarding your positions until the quarterly statement. So up until that point, if you own more than 10%, if you sold any, if you bought any, you had to declare it when it was made. You had to produce an SEC filing. But when you're below that 10% mark, you can then make decisions, and no one will know until the quarterly reports has been issued. So it turns out they were actually correct with that thesis, but not in the manner that everyone expected. So we all thought, he's dropped it to below 10% because he didn't want to have to keep on declaring any moves he made. But the reason why it wasn't what we all expected was because on May 2nd, 2020, during the Warren Buffett annual shareholder meeting, he made it clear that he sold all its airline stocks because of a potential change in consumer behavior. So let me take you to that article right now. So here's the reason Warren Buffett gave for selling the whole of his airline position. He said, "The world has changed for airlines," Buffett said, according to the CNBC story, "and I don't know how it's changed. And I hope it corrects itself in a reasonably prompt way. I don't know if Americans have now changed their habits or will change their habits because of the extended period." So he sold out of his entire position pretty much under the radar. So he initially trimmed his position to below 10%, and we all thought, oh, that's the reason why. So he doesn't have to declare any moves to the SEC. But the reason why he did that was because he can then go ahead and sell his entire position, and we would be none the wiser until the quarterly earnings report. So I thought it was quite a cheeky move by the old man. Do you know what I'm saying? It was a really, really cheeky move, but he did what he thought was best. But ultimately, guys, I think that was a position of fear. So he did what he had to do. All right, guys, so with that said, let's take a look at the bank stocks, okay? So on the 24th of February, 2020, Warren Buffett specifically stated, "I feel very good about the banks we own. They are very attractive compared to most other securities I see." So bear in mind the date, guys, the 24th of February this year. So again, already started to see the virus moving out of just China. But here he says, he feels good about the bank stocks that we own. All right, guys, so now moving on to May 3rd, 2020. And at the annual shareholders meeting, Warren reassures investors that, American banks are in good shape. That's his quote, okay? So I'm going to take you to that quote right now.
The banks were very involved with the problem. In 2008 and 9, they had done some things they shouldn't have done in some of them, and they were certainly in far different financial condition now. So that banking system is not the problem in this particular show.
All right, guys, so as you can see from that clip that I've just played you, Warren Buffett said, he said they were responsible for the 2008 financial crisis, but this time around, they're in a great position, pretty much nothing to worry about. American banks are in good shape, okay? Okay, guys, so let's fast forward to May 16th, 2020, just a couple of weeks after the shareholder meeting. In their most recent filing, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway reveals that they sold over 12 million shares of Goldman Sachs, reducing their stake to just under 2 million shares. And not only that, they reduced their stake in JP Morgan by 3%. What is going on? You're saying one thing and you're doing the complete opposite, Warren. Okay, guys, so if you are invested in banks, I also want to play Steve Eisman's commentary on the US bank stocks.
I think there's an interesting opportunity in the very large banks. And the way I think about it is, in the great financial crisis, the banks failed, the bond markets basically failed, and the Fed and the federal government had to come in and bail out both. And this time around, the banks are fine, and the federal government had to come in and bail out the bond markets again.
All right, guys, so if you're not aware of who Steve Eisman is, I strongly recommend you watch a movie called The Big Short. He pretty much made a lot of his fortune from shorting the mortgage housing market before the crash in the 08, and he made a serious fortune from that position. And now in 2020, he's actually agreeing with what Warren Buffett said on May the 3rd, that American banks are in good shape. So that's his current stance, and as far as I'm aware, he hasn't started to short the US banks. So that's given me some level of confidence in American banks. Okay, guys, so I just thought it would be quite interesting to go through a breakdown of Warren Buffett's famous first quarter sell-offs. Here we go, guys. So here's a list of some of his sell-offs. He said, it said Buffett decreased his stake in Goldman, which we already know. He also cut his stake in JP Morgan Chase & Co. by 3%. And he also completely exited his position in insurance giants Travelers and also the energy company Phillips 66. So he's pretty much dumped all of his shares in these companies. As you can see here, guys, they also sold parts of their Amazon position. And if you've been paying attention to the stock market recently, Amazon is completely flown off the shelves recently. Amazon's on the way to the moon right now. All right, guys, so here's my conclusion, okay? So I believe the second reason Warren Buffett gave for selling stocks is applicable here. And I think that's the reason why Warren Buffett has been selling. I wrote here, Warren Buffett sold these stocks because he believed the outlook of airlines, banking, and many of the other stocks he sold has changed due to the Rona, okay? And I'm also going to take the quote from his annual shareholders meeting where he said the world has changed for airlines and the future is much less clear to me. Again, that's a statement, a powerful statement, but was he right? Was he right is the question. My biggest concern really is the current trend in his actions. He's been trimming off his positions only for us to find out later on that he's actually sold the entire stake. He did it with the airlines. He's trimmed his position in the banking sector, and I'm starting to ask the question, like, has he completely exited his bank stocks, under the radar? The sly move that he did with airline stocks. And also, did Warren Buffett get this completely wrong? So these are some of the questions I'm asking myself, because if you take a look at some of the airline stocks that he sold, look at them. They've shot straight back up. Banks as well, they've not fully recovered where they were before the lockdown, but they're still rising. Amazon, look at Amazon. He sold shares in Amazon. Must be regretting selling his Amazon position. So guys, with my research, it's actually led me to more questions, but that's the reason why Warren Buffett is selling right now.
Guys, I hope you agree with my thoughts on why Warren Buffett has been selling. And I would like to know, have you been buying or have you been selling or have you been sitting in cash also? And let me know in the comment section below, guys. And if you have another reason as to why you think Warren Buffett has been selling, then again, just drop them in the comment section below and let's have this conversation. And with that said, guys, make sure you do your own due diligence and analysis before you decide to invest in any stock. A fantastic book that I'll always recommend on my channel is One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, the legend himself. This book has been incredible for me. If you want to start investing, I would highly recommend my broker Trading 212. Click the link in the description below and Trading 212 will give us both a free share. With all that said, guys, don't forget to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want more content from myself. Thank you for watching once again, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.